Hello, dear students. Hello, everybody. Myself, Mahesh Talpada. We are here again together for learning lesson number 6 Administrative System and Architecture during the Medieval Age. It is a lesson from Standard 7th subject Social Science. Previously, we have seen lesson number 5 Location and Time, and this lesson it is from the history of India, and from the heading of the lesson we can understand that in this lesson we are going to learn administrative system and architecture during the medieval age. So there may be a question in your mind that what is medieval age? Medieval age, it is a time period between 6th century. We are right now in 20th century. Medieval age starts from 6th century and up to 16th century. It is a medieval time period. There are two medieval age, the two different names that the medieval age has. It is the beginning of the medieval time and the later part of the medieval time. So it is a lesson from round about 7th century onwards. Previously in first lesson we have seen medieval time when Harshvardhan and Pulkeshi II were the kings of India. So in this lesson we will see the administrative system of the states and the kings and the kingdoms, and different architecture means the construction of different buildings, monuments that has become famous right now. An administrative system refers to the point that how kings were decided, that who will be the next king, and how on the basis of what criteria the next king is decided of the state, that we are going to learn. So I hope you will enjoy watching this video. Let me just explain in Hindi so that you can also understand very clearly. Lesson number 6 एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम एंड आर्किटेक्चर ड्यूरिंग द मेडिवियल एज. तो मेडिवियल एज जैसे मैंने बताया कि वो एक टाइम पीरियड है 6 सेंचुरी से लेके 16 सेंचुरी तक. अभी हम 20th सेंचुरी में जी रहे हैं, तो ये जो टाइम पीरियड है 6th सेंचुरी टू 16, दैट इज़ कंसिडर एज मेडिवियल एज. और उस टाइम पीरियड के दौरान कौन कौन से अच्छे आर्किटेक्चर यानी कि अच्छे मॉन्यूमेंट्स, बिल्डिंग्स बने हैं जो अभी भी काफ़ी फेमस हैं, और उस टाइम पे कैसी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम होती थी इंडिया के सारे किंग्स या एम्पेरियर्स की, राजाओं की, तो उसके बारे में हम इस लेसन में पढ़ेंगे. सो लेट अस स्टार्ट. हियर द लेसन स्टार्ट्स विथ अ स्मॉल बॉय named Utsav and his friends. They were very excited about Kasam Mir's Lok Dairo. We all have heard the word Dairo. Dairo, it is a word that refers to a program where different folk songs are sung. Here in the first line also it is described Mir Qasim's Lok Dairo, a group of folk singers who sings folk songs, was organized in the village square yani ki chowk, and the entire village had gathered there at night. Small children have already taken their positions in the front. Patriotic songs were also been sung at the Lok Dairo along with the folk songs. Utsav liked the Palya recital. Palya recital means songs sung in the honor of martyr very much. Here the word Palya refers to the songs that are sung in the honor of martyrs. Martyrs यानी जो शहीद हो गए हैं हमारी देश की सेवा करते, रक्षा करते हुए, उनके ऑनर में जो सॉन्ग्स गाए जाते हैं, उनके सम्मान में जो सॉन्ग्स गाए जाते हैं वो है पालिया. द नेक्स्ट डे ही आस्क्ड हिज ग्रैंडफादर. Grandfather, what does Palya mean? His grandfather told him that a Palya is a memorial commemorating of the heroes. उसके दादाजी उन्हें बताते तो व्हाट इज़ पाल्या. पाल्या क्या होता है? अ मेमोरियल कमेमोरेटिंग द हीरोज़. कमेमोरेटिंग यानी कि जो स्थापक होता है, जो एक पत्थर जैसा रखते हैं उनकी याद में, वो a memorial commemorating of the heroes. It is a tribute to martyrs who have sacrificed their lives while protecting and ensuring the welfare of the people. वो ऐसा कमेमोरेटिंग किसके लिए होता है? जो अपनी लाइफ कुर्बान कर देते हैं अपने देश के नाम या कुछ अच्छे काम के जिससे सारे देश के लोगों को फ़ायदा हो, उनके याद में जो सॉन्ग्स गाए जाते हैं वो पाल्या. और जो स्मारक की स्थापना होती है वो होता है मेमोरियल कमेमोरेटिंग. दिस पालियाज आर वर्शिप्ड ड्यूरिंग फेस्टिवल्स. सॉन्ग्स आर sung as the homage to this martyr. This is the culture of our country. We sing that those palyas not only on few occasions, but there are many festivals where these palyas are sung or recital. Utsav and his friends requested his grandfather, please enlighten us about the culture of our country. So now they are very curious to know the culture of our country as they have heard the songs Palya. Wait, said Grandpa, and then on whatever he has discussed, that is our lesson number 6, the administrative system and architecture during medieval age. So let us learn this lesson, and I hope that you will pay attention in the textbook as well as here also when I explain, so that you can easily understand. First point is administrative system during the Rajput age. Rajput age and medieval time period refers to the same timeline, so it would be same. During the Rajput era, India was not ruled over by only one king. India was divided into big and small states, and the extent of each kingdom depended on the king's military powers. King's military prowess. You have been briefed about the Rajput kings and the dynasties in the previous chapter. In this chapter, you will learn about the administrative system, literature, architectural, and external inventions during that time. So, as it is described, that in this point, what we are going to learn, it is a time when India was not only one big nation, but it was a nation made up of small and big states, and the extent, the boundaries of the kingdom was dependent on the king's military powers. You have been briefed. We have also learnt about Rajput kings and different dynasties that ruled in South India and North India that we have studied in the previous lessons of history. So, in that we'll learn the administrative system that we discussed. Literature word refers to the knowledge of our ancient language Sanskrit. Architecture that we have already discussed, buildings, monuments, and external invasions, that how king deal with their enemies, that also we are going to learn. So let us learn the first point, administrative system. After the 7th century, various Rajput dynasties ruled in India. However, even though different dynasties came to power, there was little change in the administrative system. Means the system was same, though the dynasties changed. System in the sense that how a new king should be enthroned to the seat, that process was the same, that whoever the king's elder son would become the king. Like that, the kingship was decided. Though kingship was hereditary, it was not compulsory that the eldest son would automatically become the next king. In that time, as we have discussed, that दो किंगशिप वॉज हेरिडेटरी, यानी कि जो अगर सिंपल भाषा में बताया जाए कि जो अगला राजा होता था मेन राजा के बाद, वो उसका ही खून होता था, यानी उसका ही बेटा होता था, बड़ा बेटा वही किंग बनता था। पर वो कंपलसरी नहीं था कि उसका बड़ा बेटा ही राजा बने। उनके जो भी बेटे हैं उनमें से जो सबसे काबिल है वही राजा बनेगा, वैसा ही वो रूल रखते थे। इट वॉज नॉट कंपल्सरी दैट द एल्डेस्ट सन वुड ऑटोमेटिकली बिकम द नेक्स्ट किंग। द हेयर अपेरेंट सेलेक्टेड बाय द किंग वॉज कॉल्ड द क्राउन प्रिंस इन सम केसेस। ऐसे कई केसेस है जहाँ पे क्राउन प्रिंस जो होता है वो राजा की जगह बिठाया गया है। व्हाट इज क्राउन प्रिंस? द हेयर अपेरेंट सिलेक्टेड बाय द किंग, जो राजा पसंद करता हो अपने स्थान पे नया राजा कौन बनेगा, वो जो पावर है वो है क्राउन प्रिंस, यानी राजा के द्वारा बनाया गया और राजा। इन सम केसेस इवन पीपल एंड मिनिस्टर्स इलेक्टेड और सिलेक्टेड their king. For example, while in Kashmir, King Yashashkara was selected and enthroned by the Brahmin group. In Gujarat, Kumarpal was selected as the successor by the Council of Ministers. So here in this paragraph, last 3 lines that are very important. So please note down and make sure you write in notebook as a point from here, King Yashashkara up to here. I hope you have noted down. Why it is important? Because it is frequently asked in objective type questions, 1 mark answers, question answers in that who was enthroned to the seat in Kashmir by Brahmin group. The answer is King Yashashkara. Related to that, 2-3 different questions may be asked. Then in Gujarat, Kumarpal was selected as the successor by the Council of Ministers. Which king was selected by the Council of Ministers? The answer is Kumarpal. So likewise, these 2-3 examples are very important, and as we have discussed earlier how the administrative system was, so I hope it is clear in your mind. So let us move forward. The ministers were appointed to assist the king to administer and manage the kingdom effectively. Yet at times people become victims of poor or wrong administrative policies that had happened in the past, that innocents were killed or they were punished by the king due to the wrong decisions of minister, due to the wrong guidance of ministers. Now let us see the first point. Here in think, you can think about few questions like what kind of an administrative system does our country follow, that we all have discussed in previous lessons, that we follow democratic administrative system, and related to that few other questions are that you can think about. Now let us see the first one, that is administrative system in villages. Village institutes are very important during the medieval period. The panchayat looked after its administration, that we all know, that in small villages panchayat take care of all such decisions related to the administration. The head of the panchayat was called Mukhi or Sarpanch, and he was responsible for protecting and delivering justice to the villagers. His was the final words. Still, in many cases, the Gram Sabha would also give verdict and punish culprit. Even today, at the village level, the Gram Panchayat or the elders of the Panchayat provide guidelines to the people. In village, we all are familiar that it is ruled and run by the Gram Panchayat, which was handled by which is handled by Sarpanch or Mukhi or many other elder experienced persons of that village. And the justice of many cases are solved by Gram Panchayat as well as Gram Sabha are also held regularly to provide जस्टिस एंड टू पनिश द कल्प्रिट्स यानी जिसने वो गुनाह किया है वो. लेट अस मूव टुवर्ड्स द सेकेंड पैराग्राफ. At that time, the land revenue was the main income of the kingdom. Each kingdom had different ways of collecting land revenue, but usually the sixth part of the cultivation was taken as a land revenue. Apart from this, other taxes were also levied on the people. Different officers were appointed for different activities. Moreover, taxes were collected at ports and octroi points. Landlords collected the tax and paid tribute to the kings. In first part, we have seen about Gram Panchayat, Gram Sabha, then important persons, Sarpanch Mukhi. In second paragraph, we'll see about how Gram Panchayat or Gram Sabha runs, how it collects money from people. In the first line, it is mentioned that land revenue, यानी कि land tax, it was levied by Gram Panchayat and people have to pay money as a part of tax. Each kingdom had different ways of collecting land revenue, but usually the 1/6 part of the cultivation was taken as the land revenue. पर उस टाइम पे उतने सारे पैसे सभी फार्मर्स के पास नहीं होते थे, तो जो भी उनकी खेत में फसल होती थी उसमें से उन्हें 6th पार्ट देना पड़ता था एज अ पार्ट ऑफ अ टैक्स. Apart from this, there were other tax also, house tax. Then if they are doing business, there are tax on business also, and taxes were collected from different pots and octroi points, and landlord collected the tax and paid tribute to the kings, and the person who collects all kind of tax are called landlord during that time. So it was about the administrative systems of villages. Now the second part, it is literature. Now the second point, literature. During the Rajput age, there was a lot of religious writing as well as literature of various kinds. Scholars and education received great patronage from kings. Many literary works were composed in Sanskrit. Let me just explain up to here. During the Rajput age, there were many writing work taken place, and it was not only religious, यानी कि कोई धर्म के प्रति ही वो राइटिंग वर्क नहीं था, पर वो एजुकेशन के रिलेटेड भी था और वो सारा राइटिंग वर्क होता था संस्कृत लैंग्वेज में. देयर वर मैनी स्कॉलर्स एंड एजुकेशन रिसीव्ड ग्रेट पैट्रोनेज यानी इनाम. उनकी अच्छी राइटिंग वर्क के लिए राजा उन्हें काफ़ी अच्छा इनाम भी देते थे. मैनी लिटररी वर्क्स व कंपोज्ड इन संस्कृत, प्राकृत, तमिल, कन्नड़, तेलुगु एक्सेट्रा. द मेन लैंग्वेज वॉज संस्कृत, बट apart from Sanskrit, there were many other languages in which the literature writing work was going on, and the main languages were Sanskrit, Prakrit, Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, etc. Now, dear students, the remaining part of this portion is very important, so do pay attention and do underline if possible for you in your textbook, because This part, it is very important for short question answers or blanks or MCQ. So do pay attention and learn carefully. The great Sanskrit poet Magh composed the epic Shishupal Vad. The great Sanskrit poet Magh composed the epic Shishupal Vad. The epic describes the killing of Shishupal by Sri Krishna. श्री कृष्ण भगवान ने जो शिशुपाल को मारा था उसके बारे में जो सारी राइटिंग वर्क है वो की थी ग्रेट संस्कृत पोइट माघ ने. सो डू रिमेंबर द नेम शिशुपाल वध belongs to Magh. Similarly, another poet, Sriharsh, wrote the epic Naisad Charita, which was about the story of Nal and Damayanti. माघ ने जैसे शिशुपाल वध लिखा वैसे ही श्रीहर्ष ने लिखा नैषध चरित, जो है स्टोरी नल एंड दमयंती के बारे में. Even songs by Radha and other gopis sung in praise of Lord Krishna were presented in the lyrical manner. The biography and achievement of the kings were also composed in a poetic manner. Whoever was the king, the poet used to write about their king's lifestyle and good work done by the kings, and they composed in the form of poem, so it is in poetic manner. Hemchandracharya wrote Kumarpal Charit based on the life of Solanki king of Gujarat Kumarpal, and grammar book Siddhem Sabdanushashan. After the first poet, great Sanskrit poet Magh, who wrote Shishupal Vad, Naishad Charita epic was wrought by Sriharsh, and now third, हेमचंद्राचार्य wrote कुमारपाल चरित, जो गुजरात के राजा थे कुमारपाल, उनकी लाइफ के बारे में है. और उन्होंने हेमचंद्राचार्य ने ग्रामर बुक भी लिखी थी सिद्धेम शब्दानुशासन, which belongs to Sanskrit language. As the title indicates, the name of King Siddharaj Jaisi, Siddhem. The name Siddhem comes from the king Siddharaj Jaisi and Hemchandracharya. So Siddh and Hem are associated with this book. This book was considered so important that it was placed on an elephant during the procession in Patan. As grammar of any language is very important, so this book was as important as any other book of grammar in other language. So during that time, during the Rajput age, the king Kumarpal and the poet Hemchandracharya, they carried this book on the back of an elephant, and there was a huge procession जहाँ पे काफ़ी सारे लोगों ने इस बुक का स्वागत किया था और इस बुक को हाथी के ऊपर अच्छे से सजा के पूरे पाटन शहर का एक चक्कर लगाया था. सो इन दिस फॉर्म दिस बुक वॉज वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट. Not only poetry but plays were also written during that time. Bhavbhuti wrote Uttaramcharit, while Pandit Narayan composed Hitopadesh. It is often asked that who composed Hitopadesh. Pandit Narayan composed Hitopadesh. Hitopadesh is a book, a collection of stories based on Panchtantra. Panchtantra, we all know that the book which has stories of animals. Either your school or library must have those books, so you should get and read. Again, there is a table, and in that table the poet or author and the work that is written so that you can read. First, Vishakadatta the poet wrote Mudra Rakshasa. Second, Kalhar. Kalhar has wrought Raj Tarangini. Bilhan has wrought Vikramadev chant. Somdev, who has composed Katha Sarit Sagar. Chand Bardai, who has composed Prithviraj Rasho, and Merutunga, who has composed Prabodh Chintamani. So these were the books and the names of author, those who have composed. So up to here we'll complete in the first part of the lesson number 6. So I hope you have understood whatever is given into first 2 points, and do read in your textbook once, and whatever important points that it comes to your mind, you can note it down in your notebook of essays. So I hope you have enjoyed and learned. Thank you so much.